guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new. My name is Heather. I'm a homeschooling mom of 3 kids, elementary and high school age. Today I am going to be sharing some curriculum reviews. I am actually filming 3 videos today for each of my kids, and I am going to be doing reviews of all of the resources that we've used this past year for each of them. First up is Emma, and if she were in public school, she would be in 10th grade. However, she did a full 11th grade year this year. She only needs an English credit to graduate next year. All of the homeschool planning is still being thought of. We're not entirely sure what we're going to be doing next year yet. It will be coming, but right now I'm just going to share about all of the resources that she used for the 2023-2024 year. So let's get started. Okay guys, so this year we did level 300 for Emma's history and English credit, level 300 from Sonlight. We have been using Sonlight since 2010. I love all of their resources. I love all of their books. Their high school levels are definitely some of my favorites, and I think that part of it is just because of the amount of discussion that we get to have. So the way that the Sonlight levels are set up in the high school years is that you get a student guide and a parent instructor's guide, and you just give the student their student guide, and it is completely self-directed. However, because I really love history, I was a history minor in college, I do the history with all of my kids. It definitely adds an extensive amount of work for me to be still doing a lot of read alouds with them, mainly the spine, and then the discussion. But I love it so much, and I feel like it is one of the most valuable parts of our homeschool is the discussion that I get to have with my kids. So I just wanted to preface that. That's how we do our history in our homeschool. I do the history with the kids. Emma did read all of the history novels, but like I said, the spine was what I read. So overall, I absolutely love Sonlight 300. It is a very emotionally heavy year for reading for your kids. And Emma is very empathetic, and that was definitely challenging. Some of the books that she read, she just felt so sad at the end of them, and we did have a lot of great discussion from those books, but it was definitely a challenging year that way. She completed all the work. She did great. We, again, had amazing discussions, but just know that if you are looking at Sonlight level 300 and you have a sensitive child, you may want to go through the books beforehand and just kind of make note of some of the things. For us, some of the emotionally draining books, I will have her listen to them on audio. And the reason that I do that is because it's a little bit easier for her to manage that emotional anguish that she gets from reading if she's listening to the audiobook versus physically reading the book. I don't know why that is. It just helps her to kind of process it a little bit easier if she's listening to the book. So I think she read on audio maybe 4 or 5 books this year. Let me just see if the Green Glass Sea. So these are from her history. Green Glass Sea, Warriors Don't Cry, China's Long March, 6,000 Miles of Danger. I think that was the only other one. Yes, so those books she listened to, and it was much better for her to listen to them. One of the questions that I had when I was looking at level 300 is whether or not the spine would be enough for history. The reason is because a couple of years ago, Sonlight redid their level 300 and changed out the spine from like an AP history book where you use like half the book to the modern history and pictures encyclopedia, and I wasn't sure if we would want to use the old spine or the new spine. I actually purchased level 300 2 years ago when I knew they were making the updates, just so that I could have the old spine in case I wanted it. However, once we got started this year, there are so many notes in the instructor's guide to go with that modern history and pictures that it was more than enough information for us to cover this year. And we really enjoyed the encyclopedia. We really enjoyed the World War I book by Richard Maybury. I have talked about this book a lot in my homeschool updates, which I do every month to 6 weeks, month or two, 2 months. And I definitely enjoyed that book. We actually ended up also reading World War II by Richard Mayberry, which used to be, I'm not sure if it still is, it used to be part of the Level 100 Sonlight US History course. When we read it, when Emma did Level 100 several years ago, we did not like that book at all. The reason is because it referred so much to the World War I book. So this year, Jack is doing Level 100, and I had that World War II book, so I actually read that to both Emma and Jack. It's much more of a libertarian-leaning book series, the Uncle Eric books, but I loved those two books, and we had so much great discussion from those two books. I definitely recommend them if you're doing US history with your high schoolers. Obviously, any history book is going to have some bias, and I thought it was really fascinating to read this libertarian perspective, or what I consider a libertarian perspective. So I definitely recommend those books. We had just so much great conversation about those books the second semester. So that was her history. The English side, she enjoyed, but I'm just looking at my book list here. She did not enjoy it as much as last year's classical literature course. And I think part of that was because of the content. Some of it was very emotionally draining. I'm thinking of Cry the Beloved Country. The Wednesday Wars was not good for her. And what is the other one? She didn't really like The Great Gatsby. Some of the books did not have a satisfying ending for her, and so I think that that really influenced how she felt about the books overall. She did a great job. She answered all the questions. She did all the work. She got an A in the course, and the only book that we did not end up doing was Brave New World, and I originally was going to switch it with 1984, and then we did not end up reading 1984, partly because I'm looking at a government economics and personal finance course from Guest Hollow for next year for both Emma and Jack, and 1984 is on that. I started looking at that in January, and so I kind of just dropped the book and we didn't address it. It is one that I still want to do. I know there's all kinds of opinions about the content of those books. Brave New World has a lot of sexual content. 1984 has a lot of sexual content. It is just that dystopian genre has that content, and it is what it is. I have seen that there is a graphic novel. I may pre-read that. I will probably partner read this with my kids just because I think that they will get the most out of it. Some of the books in high school, sorry, this is a bit of a tangent. I had the same opinion when I was in high school. The books are great literature, but when you are in high school, it is very difficult to actually apply the lessons learned through that literature because you have no life experience in high school. Your life experience is very limited. And so a lot of these books, while they are great literature, it's almost like you are not getting the benefit of reading them because you don't have that lived experience yet. And yes, we're still reading these books, but I do try to have a lot of deep discussion with the kids about the content of the books and trying to make them understand why the content is important, or what the author is trying to get across by writing specific content. So overall, we love Sonlight 300. I thought it was great, especially the history portion, 20th century world history. A lot goes on in the 1900s, and the amount of discussion we had was really good. It was really great to be able to kind of continue our discussion on constitutional literacy, which she did last year for her history credit, and then also bringing Jack along in the second semester as he moved through the second part of his US history course for this year. So overall, love Sonlight 300. I love Sonlight. We've been using them forever. It is a lot of books. I think that I maybe mentioned this in my curriculum choices video for Emma. I think there were 22 history books and 24 English books. So it is a lot of reading. I definitely feel like you could cut those book lists in half and still have a very full year of those courses. So just keep that in mind. Overall, excellent courses. So then the next thing was Algebra 2, which Emma did through Teaching Textbooks. We've been using Teaching Textbooks for years. Love it. We start out with Singapore Math, Singapore Primary US Edition from K through 6B, and then my kids transition into Teaching Textbooks. We tried a bunch of other math courses, Math UC, the Dive Math, and there was one other one that we've tried in the past, but Teaching Textbooks really just works for us. I like the hybrid approach that I can use with that, which is printing out the paper lessons so that she can do her work by hand if she wants to, and then entering the answers into the app for self-grading. It makes it very easy if we're traveling or doing anything like that to continue to bring Teaching Textbooks with us. Of course, they do have an app now, so she does it on her iPad a lot, and because she has the pencil, she just uses the sketch pad a lot of the time. Algebra 2 is her favorite subject. It has continued to be her favorite subject all year long, which is kind of funny to me because she loves reading and writing, but Algebra 2, favorite subject. So we are not sure what we're going to be doing for math next year. She is not interested in doing pre-calculus. She really would like to maybe start business math, and so I'm considering statistics for her through Life of Fred. That literature-based math program I think will work well for her. We have not been able to find like a high school business math. I might look at some of the Dave Ramsey resources and see if I can piece something together for her. She is not at the place where she wants to go and take accounting at the college, so we will see. If I find an online accounting course through the University of Maine, then I might have her do that, but we will see. As of right now, we're unsure of what she's going to do next for math, but we're leaning towards statistics. The next subject is chemistry, and we used a lot of different resources for chemistry this year. The primary resource was Bjupress chemistry. I got that because I wanted the math component of chemistry, but I didn't necessarily need the lab component because she did physical science lab and biology lab already. So she didn't really need a third lab. We decided to use some of the guest hollow chemistry in the kitchen labs for this course. I have realized that science in high school is very expensive for homeschoolers. If we had purchased the full Bjupress science chemistry curriculum with the lab kit, it would have been close to $800. That is crazy to me. So we did not purchase the lab kit. We did do the 180 lessons, video lessons. I really like that there is a teacher. It is, to me, a very in-depth class. I think it could definitely be counted as an honors class. It is a ton of content. The reason that I chose Bjupress chemistry originally was because I loved chemistry when I was in high school, and I just wanted that extra help with teaching the math side because I wasn't sure if I could really recall all of that I took in high school and in college. And I think that that was very helpful. In retrospect, I think that she would have done well with the Life of Fred chemistry book that I had gotten for the math side, and then just done the chemistry in the kitchen from Guest Hollow labs. The problem that I ran into with the Guest Hollow chemistry in the kitchen was I could not find some of the books for some of the lab things. They weren't necessarily books that I wanted to purchase, and I couldn't find them at the library, and so it made it a little more challenging. But overall, I really liked the labs. We had read the majority of those books a couple of years ago when we did the History of Science Level J through Sonlight, and so I didn't want to reread those books. It's a little bit harder to pull out the labs from that curriculum. It's not laid out as easily for me to manage because there are so many books. It is another literature-based curriculum. Did she do well with Bjupress? Yes. Do I think she would have done equally as well with Life of Fred? Yes. And I think that just the sheer amount of content that is in the Bjupress courses, all of their courses, because they're 180 days of lessons, it's not 180 lessons that you can cut down to like 120 days. That's very challenging if you double up to do that with these high school courses. I think I would have been happier to just do Life of Fred and not do Bjupress. Do I recommend it? Absolutely. If you have a kid that is going into science fields in college, this is a great program. It is Christian based. There is a lot of talk about faith in the program itself. So if that bothers you, you may want to stay away from this course. But overall, I thought it was a very, very strong course and covered a ton. I really like the guest hollow chemistry in the kitchen course as well. I'm kind of sad that we had already done a lot of the books because I think that it would have been a really fun year for Emma to go through those books because we really enjoy the books that we have already read that are included in that program. And so if you have a student that is not super sciencey, then I definitely recommend the guest hollow chemistry in the kitchen. And there is no math component to that, which is part of the reason why I also purchased Life of Fred. So if you do want to include that math component, I would get the Life of Fred book. And Life of Fred, it's very, very easy to digest. The chapters are funny and entertaining and fun to go through. So, and everything is included in that book. So that was chemistry. I took a lot of time to figure out chemistry last year. I have a whole video on all of the resources that we looked at. I'll leave that linked in the description box if you're interested, because we had such a challenging year with biology the previous year. And again, I am running into that same problem as I think ahead for next year for Jack for science, because on that traditional college prep track, he should be going into biology, and I am still very unsure what we're going to do. The next class that she had was Spanish 3. And this is the last year of Spanish through Bjupress that she is able to take. They do not have a Spanish 4, which I'm kind of bummed about. I think that the thinking is that after you complete Spanish 3, if you want to continue, it's best to go into college foreign language. She's not sure if she wants to do that, and I am totally okay with that. I think in high school, homeschool, it is very, very common for parents to put their kids in dual enrollment classes. And I think that that is a great opportunity for your kids if they're ready. But I don't, and honestly, that was the direction that we had planned to go in for so long. It was Emma's desire to start college at 16 and just kind of go from there. And she is on track to do that. But as we have gotten into these high school years, she is not really interested in going to the college to take classes. And to be honest, that is totally fine with me. I don't think that there's anything wrong with her not taking advantage of the dual enrollment options that she has right now. I think that if she wants to do some of that, great. If she doesn't, that is also okay. I did not do any college courses when I was in high school, and I still was fully able to go to a 4-year college and get my degree and do quite well. So I think that sometimes we put a lot of pressure on our homeschool high school kids, partly because we're still falling into that comparison trap, and we just want to make sure that we can prove that our kids are doing so much better because we homeschooled them instead of putting them in public school. And I think if your kid is ready for dual enrollment classes, great. I think that Emma could definitely do really well in some of the different classes, definitely math and most likely English, but she's just not interested in doing those classes yet. So we're putting that on the back burner. But Spanish 3, Bjupress, I love the course. It is, again, Christian based. They memorize Bible verses in Spanish. I thought that the course was really good. She wished that they did more review at the beginning of the year on like vocabulary and stuff, because I think it's just not something that she practiced over the summer, which is totally understandable. I did not drill Spanish vocabulary between, Spanish 1, Spanish 2, Spanish 3 when I was in high school or in college. So I understand that, but she wished that there was just a little bit more review at the beginning of Spanish 3 so that she didn't feel like she was just being dropped right back into Spanish with not much review at all, which is kind of how she felt. She's done a great job this year in all of her classes. It's been a very academic year for her, but overall, I'm really happy with all of the choices that we made. I'm really happy with not doing public school activities in the fall. Well, she did do cross country, which was kind of good and kind of bad this year. She did not have as great of a season personally. She was still #1 on her team, but she was sick towards the end, and so she missed like the regional race and our conference race, and so her season kind of sputtered out. It was also really rainy, so some of the races were canceled or moved, and she did not feel good about her time on some of the races. So she's unsure if she's going to continue with cross country next year. She still runs every day, but she's just not sure if she wants to participate in the team sport next year. But we did not do band, and we were kind of missing that music component because she has been doing band at the public school since she was 9, 8, 9. So it was a little bit different, but I think overall we were much happier this year. We had so much more time to complete our work. We really were able to deep dive on having a particular day to focus on passion projects and a particular day to be completely off of screens and focus on reading and analog learning and just fun activities. So that was really good. We did quite a bit of college and career type stuff that will continue through next year. But overall, I was really pleased with all of our choices. There was nothing that I had to drop or switch out or look for new resources as we went through the year. So I'm really pleased with all of the resources that we used for Emma this year. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that this was helpful for you. I know everybody's looking at curriculum right now and trying to choose the best thing for their kids. I do want to just point out that Bjupress, they do have 180 days of lessons. They will say their average video length on the website. And I think that, for Spanish 3, it was like 22 minutes and similar for chemistry, but the amount of work in addition to those lessons, those video lessons, was extensive. And so, it was about an hour plus each day for both of those subjects. So they were very, very academic subjects. If that's what you're looking for, definitely recommend. If you have a student that is not as interested in the science fields, I would maybe back off from Bjupress for science and choose something different. And then the foreign language, I feel like the Bjupress foreign language has been the best option for us. I haven't been able to find something as comprehensive as Bjupress for Spanish. I'm sure that there are things out there. She did not want to do live online classes. She wanted something that she could do at her own pace. So overall, really, really good year. Love Sonlight. Very heavy emotional year for all of the books that we read, but tons of great discussion, and Algebra 2, favorite subject. So I feel like I'm doing something right if Algebra 2 is your favorite subject. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. If you have questions, please let me know in the comments, or you can email me. My contact form is always in the description box. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks, guys. Bye.